My words are there, everywhere for you to find. The gray amidst the whites, the aches amidst the smiles, the hope amidst the despair, the emerging dawn hidden in the black of the darkest night, for you to find your light. What is poetry if it's in a hurry? Poetry takes shape from seeing and being, from the unseen to the emerged, from the deepest part of living to the frailest part of sharing. Indian poet, translator, scholar, and queer activist Akhil Katyal brings his brilliant mind and words to spar, or shall we say flow along, with Pervin Saket of Urmila fame, known for her feminist writings. This should be a session to watch out for.
So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. A big thank you to the Bengaluru Poetry Fest for having us here. It is extremely special to me because we've had so many sessions online, and now to see someone in the flesh, to see all of you, and to see Bangalore come out with in these numbers is very heartening. So thank you for that. And I thought that I would begin with a poem which reflects on the time that we've had over these last 2 years, but from a very specific angle. This is a love poem, and how does one respond to love at a time when we cannot touch each other? The idea of the skin as a place of communication is so important, and when that is lost to us, how do we understand and navigate this space of love? So this is called ecdysis, or pandemic Valentine. The joke touches the throat as laughter. The aroma touches the stomach as memory. The lover touches the beloved as pixels. Of all the words I've picked up these last 2 years, I'm struck by ecdysis, the shedding of skin in reptiles, so they may survive another storm, another song. My mother once drove us girls on an empty gray ribbon of road and switched off the headlights. For one fierce second, the whoosh of the pines descended on us, and I knew I could be hugged by sound. Let us strip this coat of dermis for a skin of decibel and light. Touch me loud as the ancient ocean reaches for the shore. Touch me pink as the heavy sun prepares to drown. Touch me clear as the temple bells when God enters the faithful. Hold me in this electric embrace that transcends our old borders of skin. Thank you. And if this is one expression of love and transcending, I'd like to read a companion poem to this, which has the opposite idea, which says, we meet most honestly when we meet for skin. And this is an epigraph by Jeanette Winterson. She says, the mystics and the churchmen talk about throwing off this body and its desires, being no longer a slave to the flesh. They don't say that through the flesh we are set free, that our desire for another will lift us out of ourselves more cleanly than anything divine. And this is the poem. We meet most honestly when we meet for skin. At the edge of the bed, we strip all metaphors of journeys, shed horizons. You contour on my back only the vagrant wetness of your tongue, and it helps that we cannot see without our glasses. Sometimes, drunk on derma, you whisper my name. I startle, for in your arms, I've forgotten even that story. We take on this peculiar role play of our own selves, our names strangely distant, foreign, like they must be italicized. You laugh your small, wrinkled chortle and repeat them dementedly. We watch them fall and dissolve in the expanse of moist goose flesh, sweat as flammable as rum. My hair curtains your face, our tongue ties together our sprawled selves, and as I inhale your exhale, we turn transparent, sieving light through chiffon and sheer, cellophane and crystal, a vapor and a blaze. Thank you. Thank you.
Pervin's poem began with, at the edge of our bed, we strip all metaphors. This poem is also a poem of longing and attempts to do the exact opposite. हमारे बीच रात रानी की लड़ियाँ, कच्चे सोने की चादर, रस भरी की खटास, कांच का जंगला. हमारे बीच फासलों की दोहर, चिकनी मिट्टी की दीवार, अनानास के कांटे, शाहजहां की गुहार. हमारे बीच कुछ नहीं का पानी, अमृता की आस, बिजली का दस्तक, गिनती की बात. हमारे बीच आखिर की रात, जमुना की कालिक, तिल की सीढ़ी, उल का पात. उनमें से एक चीज़ जो हमारे बीच थी उसमें थी अमृता की आस. अमृता प्रीतम, जिनका काम I'm sure many of you know, one of her more popular poems, this is a translation of Amrita Pritam's poem, मैं तेनू फिर मिलांगी. अमृता प्रीतम. मैं तेनू फिर मिलांगी, कित्थे किस तरह पता नहीं. शायद तेरे तखयुल दी चिणक बन के तेरे कैनवस ते उतरांगी, या खौरे तेरे कैनवस ते उत्ते एक रहस्यमय लकीर बन के खामोश तेनू तकदी रवांगी. I will meet you again. Where, how, I do not know. Maybe as a bit in your imagination, I will come to your canvas, or like a cryptic line you draw silently, keep gazing at you. या खोरे सूरज दी लू बन के तेरे रंगां विच घुलांगी, या रंगां दियां बाहां विच बैठ के तेरे कैनवस नू वालांगी. पता नहीं किस तरह, कित्थे, पर तैनू जरूर मिलांगी. Or like the ray of the sun, I will mix in your colors, and sitting in their arms become that which you draw. I do not know how or where, but I will meet you again. या खोरे एक चश्मा बनी होवांगी, ते जिवें झरनियां दा पानी उड़दा, मैं पानी दियां बूंदां तेरे पिंडे ते मलांगी, ते एक ठंडक जई बन के तेरे छाती दे नाल लगांगी. मैं होर कुछ नहीं जानदी, पर इन्ना जानदी हां कि वक्त जो भी करेगा, ए जन्म मेरे नाल टुरेगा. Maybe I will be a spring, and like water fly to the wind, those droplets of water I will rub on your body, and like a coolness I will lie on your chest. I don't know much, but this I know. In time when I go, all I have done will go. And when this body goes, everything goes. But the threads of memories are like the atoms in the universe. I will cherry pick those atoms, weave those threads, and I will meet you again. ਐ ਜਿਸਮ ਮੁੱਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਮੁੱਕ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਚੇਤਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਧਾਗੇ ਕਾਇਨਾਤੀ ਕਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਣਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੁਣਾਂਗੀ, ਧਾਗਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਲਾਂਗੀ, ਤੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਮਿਲਾਂਗੀ। ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਾ ਪ੍ਰੀਤਮ।
Thank you, Akhil. It was wonderful. So we thought that we'd take the second part of this session to slightly more ideas of questions. And Akhil yesterday did a brilliant workshop right here on writing the English ghazal. So I thought I might begin this section with a ghazal. This is a ghazal for Pushpa, who works in my house. And I think we do not recognize enough, especially women, the ways in which other women have made this possible for us. Not only women who've done this before us, but women who take on other roles and have allowed us a different kind of exploration. So Pushpa has many difficulties, and in order to solve some of them, for her, the solution is to fast and to ask for help. And I'm very troubled by some of the aspects of how she has to live. Well, you'll see more in the ghazal. This is a ghazal for Pushpa, who fasts. Mondays are reserved for Neelkant, the growl of her stomach, Morse coding missives for entreating God. Tuesdays, she trudges to the elephant-headed one, acid-bellied, barefoot, bunions and blisters meeting God. Each stone-faced idol hyperlinked to backstories and myths, their common theme, fast to receive, no cheating God. As she scrubs floors, she explains, Thursdays are divided across gurus, personal and public, temporarily unseating God. Praying for dowried daughters-in-law, she doesn't notice the fugly potato, her partner in this ache for a fleeting God. Potato is the one thing she can eat when she fasts. On Sundays, her gaunt chants of Surya, Ravi, Bhaskara slip into the methi dal she stirs for us, reheating God. She won't eat fruit, too expensive, and milk, too wasteful. The misshapen spud fuels her back, bent in greeting God. Each week it offers its flesh, boiled or fried or tossed with salt, these curious demands of an ill-treating God. Her idols are many-armed, but the many-eyed potato watches as she dusts around their feet, repeating God. Work done, she squats under their unseeing gaze, the mound of potato on her plate, Pushpa slowly eating God. Thank you. The next poem is structurally inspired by Bhaskara's Lilavati, the 12th century mathematician Bhaskara, who wrote Lilavati. And what is very interesting about this treatise is not only that it's a very important mathematical contribution, but that he explained mathematical ideas using word problems based on the social conditions of that time. So it's also a very important social artifact that remains with us. And word problems, I'm sure you're all familiar with because we did them in school. So this poem is called Word Problems for 10 marks each. 1. If on a full moon night, a boy, 19, climbs all 44 steps to B205 and leaves without getting my brother's number, how many suns will it take to feed courage into his feet again? 2. If tap A can fill 3 buckets in a minute and tap B can fill half a bucket, if tap A is molded from ancient brass and tap B from mongrel alloy, if tap A belongs to the 4th bathroom of a bungalow and tap B to a cracked 13-inch diameter basin, what will the astrologer need to be paid to see alignment in their stars? Thank you. 3. If Firuza of the straight A's and curved waist, who has learned to clasp her chemistry books to her chest, is the regular source of optical data to 5 pairs of unblinking eyes, assuming the speed of light is constant and a normal rate of refraction, how many weeks before her father decides she doesn't need college anymore? 4. If one two-armed man can build half a wall in 8 days, and one two-armed woman can build 3/4 of a wall in a dozen days, how many walls will need to fall before they hold the same number of two-faced coins in their 2 hands? Thank you. 5. If Mrs. Kakkar, Secretary to the Secretary of KIL Bank, Asia Pacific Division, commutes daily from Mumbai Central with the train moving at an average speed of 26 Ps a minute, what station will she have to travel to in order to complete prepping a balanced meal for 4? So this is a reference, those of you who've traveled in Bombay locals, you know how women are shelling peas and preparing their dinner. Bonus question. If Hari, who washes your car, has to divide 7 rotis and 2 onions between 5 children, explain why Hari, who washes your car, has to divide 7 rotis and 2 onions between 5 children. Thank you.
Familiar with Aga Shahid Ali, and he wrote this canzone called Lennox Hill a few years before he passed away in the late 90s, and it was written on the death of his mother. And appropriate to the difficulty of the subject, he also wrote it in a strikingly difficult form. Canzone, as some of you know, it's an old European, French, Italian form, which is a 65-line form, and each of the lines has to end with one of the 5 end words, one of the 5 end words, which are repeated throughout the poem. It starts with an epigraph from the story of his a story that his mother told him when she was recovering from the surgery at the Lenox Hill Hospital in Manhattan, and she was hearing all these sirens of ambulances and some police cars passing by, and she said, "Oh, they sound like the elephants of Mihirgulla." And who were the elephants of Mihirgulla? It was a reference to the 6th century Hun in Kashmir, Mihirgulla, who was known for his cruelty. In Kalahan, you could know the approach of his armies because of the vultures and crows that flew before it. And the elephants of Mihirgulla was a reference to that once as Mir, Hathi, Marna, Kainat. Lenox Hill, Aga Shahid Ali. लेनक्स हिल अस्पताल में सर्जरी के बाद माँ ने कहा कि ये सायरन मिहिरगुल्ला के उन हाथियों की तरह सुनाई पड़ते हैं जिन्हें उसके सिपाहियों ने पीर पंजाल की चट्टानों से खदेड़ गिराया था। उस हूण को वो चीख इतनी पसंद आई, एक गिरते हाथी की, उसने फिर से सुनना चाहा। सुबह के वक्त मेरी माँ ने सुना अपने अस्पताल वाले सपने में, जिसमें हाथी ही हाथी थे, कई सायरन मैनहट्टन में रोते हुए उन हाथियों की तरह जिन्हें पीर पंजाल के टीलों से गिराया था कश्मीर में। सिपाहियों ने उसके हुक्म पर खदेड़ा था उन हाथियों को। सबसे अजीम तरीन पैरों के निशान होते हैं हाथी के, बुद्ध ने कहा था। पर जो उठाए ना गए इस कायनात से, वो निशान हमेशा के लिए गायब हो गए उसी कायनात में। हालांकि खाना बदोश अभी भी खबर सुनाते हैं उन हाथियों की, मानो कल ही की बात हो। वो रंग हवा में सरमराया था। अफसानाए जंग रात में गुम जाएंगे, इससे पहले कि मरे उनकी कहानी। ये बेरहम खाकी जिनके हाथों मरते हुए दुनिया देखती है हमें, मातम करते हुए उन हाथियों का जिनका सरेआम कत्ल हुआ। जैसे कोई पत्थर मार मार जान ले लेता है किसी की, जैसे कोई पत्थर मार मार जान ले लेता है किसी की, वैसे ही कोई मुझे हीरों से मार रहा है। ऐसा सपना देखा महीनों बाद एमहर्स्ट में मेरी माँ ने। मैंने कितनी दुआ करी कि अगर ज़रूरी है उसका मरना तो किसी सपने में ही हो जाए। पर कभी कभार माँ, ऐसा हुआ तुम सोई होती थी, मैं मनाता था या मौला मरने दो इसे। ऐसा नहीं कि मैं चाहता था, तुम्हारी कसम, कि तुम मर जाओ, पर तुम्हें संजोए रखने के लिए जवां गीत में, कश्मीर में, और मैं एक त्योहार तुम्हारे पहनाए कृष्ण मुकुट में, कश्मीर सुनते हुए मेरी बांसुरी। तुमने कभी किसी भगवान को मरने की इजाजत ही नहीं दी। इसलिए आज अभी मैं इस कायनात को माफ़ ना करने की कसम खाता हूँ जो ऐसे किसी कायनात की मुझे आदत लगा दे जिसमें तुम ना हो। तुम ही तो कायनात थी जिसने कमाया था किसी कहकशां की तरह ना मरने का हक। ना सुनी थी अर रहमान की, अर रहीम की, इस कायनात के अशफी की, अपने ही चाल के घेरे में, दवा की काली रात के अंधेरे में। और तब कहाँ था वो खुदा उन हाथियों का यूं मुकद्दर से ठुसा, जब दांत से दांत तक ये पूरी कायनात सब्ज रंग से हाथी दांत हुई। तो मान लो हर कोई इस कायनात को जन्नत की तरह ही एक मकबरा। वो मुझसे पूछते हैं माँ, तो लिखाई कैसी चल रही है? मैं जवाब देता हूँ, मेरी माँ ही मेरी नज़्म है। वो और क्या चाहते थे मुझसे? ना ही कोई नज़्म काफ़ी थी उस गुंजाइश के अलावा, धुंधलाती कश्मीर की और उन चीखों के जो तुम्हारे सिरहाने पहुँची कश्मीर की चट्टानों से 15 सदियों पार इस अस्पताल में। कश्मीर वो मर रही है, देखो कैसे उसकी सांसें डुबो देती हैं पूरी कायनात को, यूं एमहर्स्ट में ही सोते सोते। खिड़कियां खुलती हैं कश्मीर की तरफ, वहाँ वो नाजुक चरमराती लकड़ी की दरगाहें, कश्मीर में कितनी दूर या अल मुमीत वापस जाने दो उसे, चाहे मरने के ही लिए। सिवाय उसके दिए दफन के हक के, कश्मीर की ज़मीं के कोई हक नहीं। जो खिड़कियां बंद होती हैं कश्मीर को, मैं देखता हूँ एक बर्फीली आंधी की चपेट में गिरते हुए हाथियों के साए। मैं नहीं बोल पाता, वो सह ही ना पाती उस एक हाथी की कहानी, उसका वापस आना दूर किसी वतन में, कश्मीर से बहुत दूर एक जंगल में, जहाँ हर साल जिस दिन उसकी माँ चल बसी थी, वो अपनी सूंड से हल्के से छूता है अपनी माँ का जनाजा। वो कहती है, इस वक्त तुम बिल्कुल मेरी माँ की तरह हो जो मेरे सिरहाने बैठे हो। मैं उसे देखता हूँ कश्मीर में, मानो एक दुल्हन रीगल में अपनी पहली फिल्म देखते हुए बाबा के संग। काश मैं तुम्हें अपनी बाहों में भर सकता माँ, तो बचा लेता तुम्हें अब मेरी बेटी उस खुदा से। कायनात अपना हिसाब खोलती है, मैं लिखता हूँ खुद खुदा की अम्मी कितनी बेबस थी। पन्ने पन्ने पर गम का खाता चढ़ाया जाता है। माँ, मैं एक हाथ देख रहा हूँ, कोई तो कहो ये खुदा का तो नहीं, चरमरा जाने दो इसे। मैं देख रहा हूँ वो हाथ हीरों से भर रहा है। मर जाए, काश ये मर जाए। क्या तुम कहीं हो, जिंदा हो, कहीं जिंदा हो माँ? क्या तुम सुन सकती हो वो जो मैं नहीं बोल पाया था, उस एक हाथी की चीख में अपने माँ के जनाजे के संग खड़े उन सब हाथियों की चीख जिससे पूरी घाटी सुन्न थी। हाथी दांत मिटा देता है हाथी को। मैं दर्ज करता हूँ, महबूब पीछे छोड़ जाता है हमें मरने के लिए। फिर तुम्हारे लिए मेरे इस गम के मुकाबले क्या गम है कश्मीर के, और क्या मैं हिसाब बंद करता हूँ गम है इस कायनात के, जो मैं तुम्हें याद करता हूँ हर हिसाब से परे, ओ मेरी माँ। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
With just a short poem. This is a little bit of a cautionary note for myself, because as poets we take language so seriously. We think language is the answer to so many of the world's problems, and it is. But it comes with its own constraints and limitations as well. So this poem is called Why the Elephant Isn't Big. After my own Wordsworthian walk, I will leave the flowers unplucked by syntax. So much is prismed by language, refracting into 7 shades of something half endearing, half flawed, that it must be human. After all, the daffodils aren't golden to the kitten who can only see blue and green. The clouds aren't lonely to the birds who know to make friends mid-sky. And I'm convinced when cats consent to create a grammar, it will be full of possessives, these creatures who graciously adopt the world. So as I throw a ball to my niece, I tell her why the elephant isn't big. It's the normal size of an elephant. Just as the ant isn't small and the giraffe isn't tall. Everything, she asks breathless, is its own normal? I shrug, so she may learn to mistrust what adults believe. Meanwhile, what can anyone honestly know? The cloud is, the flower is, she is. Anything after that is not them, it's me. Thank you.